Hello everyone, my name is Jamil. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Today's video is sponsored by Cape Privacy, and I'll be taking some time to go over their services and why you might want to integrate them into your workflow. As AI becomes more prevalent in today's world and people integrate AI services into their day-to-day, eventually using the services with personal identifying information and business identifying information, you might want to consider sending prompts that don't contain any personal identifying information or business identifying information. And that is because if you're familiar with AI, you know that the prompt sent through an AI model becomes part of their database, and they reserve the right to use it in order to help refine their language learning model and help make their services better. So, Cape Privacy has taken a moment to assess this, and they have recognized the implication set out by these terms. Cape has made it their goal to make sure that your information remains your information while using services like ChatGPT. And in order to do so, Cape has built out an API. They have also built out a chat that leverages end-to-end secure processing to ensure your private data remains private while using language learning models. And in this video, I will show you exactly that. And how does the API work? The Cape API leverages confidential computing for an end-to-end secure process built using AWS Nitro enclaves. In these enclaves, Cape Privacy has designed a privacy layer, including an encryption vector store and search capability meant to de-identify sensitive entities before sending the prompts over to services like GPT. The AI service you use will receive the redacted prompts passed through Cape Privacy's API and then respond using a redacted prompt, and Cape will do the rest for you, re-identifying the sensitive entities represented as placeholders, and in your response, you will see the full prompt. Let's start off the tutorial by giving the chat a try. If you don't already have an account, please take some time to create an account so that you can follow through along this tutorial and play around with this yourself. You'll notice a couple of things right off the bat. It looks very similar to other AI services, where on the left-hand side, you have a history of your information. You can start a new chat. You can upgrade your service, give any feedback, and you can play around with some settings. Let's use the example given to us. Who is Wayne Gretzky, right? You'll notice right here, it takes a moment, and then it changed the color of Wayne Gretzky. And if we take the time to hover over Wayne, you'll notice that this data was redacted to name given 1, and is only visible to you. And if we hover over Gretzky, it says this data was redacted as name family 1 and is only visible to you. Let's say Wayne Gretzky is a famous hockey player from Canada, okay? And this is us giving the AI context. So if we go over our prompt, you'll notice again, Wayne Gretzky, name given 1, family given, name family 1, is also an occupation 1. Right? So then let's go take this a step farther and ask, who is Michael Jordan? Right? As the prompt was building itself, it redacted Michael Jordan to name given 2 and Jordan to family 2. But let's say we put in something like, who is Michael Jackson? We use Michael twice. So how does this work? Well, if we hover over Michael, you'll see that as given previously, it's name given 2. And if you go over to Jackson, it's now name family 3. And based on the vector search and how Cape operates on the back end and their API, it manages to put all of these things together. There's one last thing that I want to show about this chat. So if you were going to go ahead and ask who is Wayne Gretzky, but notice that it is all lowercase, right? It will say, I'm sorry, but due to the redaction process, I don't know who that is. Because if we take a look at this, so name given 3 is one thing, and name family 4 is another thing. It is different than our original prompts of name given 1 and name family 1. So it is important to be consistent with your prompts. But let's say you want to upload a document, and I am going to just pull this. You can just drag it directly into your chat. You don't want to use this for a public service or public documentation. I'm only using the resume for demonstration, and you will probably want to use this for something a little bit more that requires a little bit more security, such as legal documents, healthcare documents, credit card information. Let's say you wanted to play around with your settings. In your settings side, you will see here that there's a model that you can choose from, and in your prompts that you are sending through to OpenAI, everything will be prefaced with, you can change this prompt accordingly. If you feel like you want to loosen it up, or if you want to tighten it a little bit, you can do so. And in your welcome message, remember when we first open up the chat, you can change that welcoming message. We'll then step into managing our plan and managing our account. You'll see here that the free version has GPT-4 limited preview and GPT 3.5 turbo. And for $20 a month, you can get access to everything and all of your services. Let's go back and check our privacy analytics. On here, you'll see your most common redaction entities. You'll see based here on the right-hand side, your total number of redactions, the most popular redaction, and then a graph indicating the timeline and how frequently you use the service. At the very bottom here, you can join their community. They are both active in Discord and GitHub. And I would recommend that if you have any questions, reaching out to them on their Discord. So let's go first and create an API key. We're going to press on create a new key. We're going to call this, I'm going to call this Cape tutorial. Okay. Video purposes. Okay. You can choose whether the API key expires or not, but I'm going to just set it to 7 days. Once you press on create key, it will generate a key for you. You'll copy the secret and I'm just going to paste it here. Before you click done, you're going to have to tap on I have saved my secret in a safe place. And the reason being is once you have created this API key, you're no longer going to have access to it and no one else will have access to it. So if you have started using this API key and have lost the key, you'll have to just create a new one and update your keys across your applications. Now that we have an API key, let's take a look at the documentation and go through the API a little bit. Now, if you like reading through documentation, I would very much recommend reading through Cape Privacy's API documentation because it's very in-depth, and if you are sort of lost on what we're doing so far, it will go into a little bit greater detail and take you through everything step by step. Also, later in the video, we will be building out some of these functions to see how they operate in real time and in your text editor, in your code editor. The main points here that we're going to be seeing is the de-identification and the re-identification of your personal and private information. If you haven't signed up yet for a key, make sure that you're signing up, and we'll go through and we'll start following some of the tutorials. I'm going to go through this at a very high level because we are going to step into building the application from the API reference a little bit in a moment. So what you need to do is when you're starting off with these tutorials, you're going to start off with getting yourself an API key, putting that API key into your environment variables, into your operating system. And we're going to need that because it's going to head all of our requests. So this is in Python, but if you take a look at what's happening here, we are creating a post request to the endpoint, and we always head with our token. So this os.getEnv is our token that's stored in our systems environment variables. Okay. What then happens is that the process of de-identification happens when you post the request to the endpoint by Cape Privacy, and then it will send you back a response, and this is what we will see. So if we were to send a message to that endpoint, we are going to create an array called messages, and in the array, we're going to have two different objects, and the request is going to go to ChatGPT model 4, and then we're just going to print the response in the form of a JSON object. And you'll see that it is then assigned a unique ID. It will tell you what model it used, what the role was of the AI assistant that had responded to you, and then the response. So it will tell us that Jack had a little frog. And this is proper because that was the context and the question that we had asked it. So let's say then you wanted to take a look at, document handling. In here, we can see that your security and your privacy can be assigned to different keys so that you can access them in an easier manner. Okay. And keys are basically where all documents under a key can be searched for together. So it just makes your searching of your vectors a little bit easier. And you can see all of your keys at this endpoint here. And if you're looking for a specific key, you can upload all relevant documents to your My Key key. Upon landing on the documentation, you are presented with the option of downloading the full OpenAI specification if you'd want to do so and take a look at everything on the back end. But we're not going to do that for the sake of this video, and we're just going to jump into going over some of these endpoints, and then we are going to jump into the app and start working on creating all of that ourselves. Perfect. We first have the option to list all of our keys. This will show us every document listed under a specific key. So if you upload a file or if you upload a text and then attach it to a specific key, such as that is the overarching theme, you can then access all of the keys. If we scroll down to the next section, we'll see that we can delete a key. You will be deleting the key and all of its subsequent documents. So if you have a specific key with a full list of documents, for example, 10 documents underneath, the moment you delete the key, you delete all 10 documents. You can list all documents under a specific key. So if you have multiple keys and you have like a system going on where you are attributing specific files to a specific theme, and you have like a public and a private, or a business and a personal, then you can list all of the documents under a specific parameter. And you will be required to input your key here so that it knows where to look. And you can then take it a step further. Once you have identified what key you are looking at and you want to see a specific document and look into that specific document, you can get your upload. Then you can look at the contents of the document, or you can redact the contents of the document using this query parameter, the format query parameter, and you will have to specify what document you are looking for using the unique ID. All right, so let's start off by interacting with the documentation and then finishing off on our application. The required parameters here are that you ensure that you have a key to know what file name you are storing, and then the content of the file. Let's say you want to upload something like a resume. You can go over to this next section and we will try it, and it will give you the ability to upload a file specifically straight from your computer, and we will send this file, and it comes back with a 200 message stating that the document was added to the vector store. I will just like to give you a quick structure of what I have done here. I have essentially set up the application as a skeleton, and what I am going to be doing is, instead of using the interactive documentation on the website, go through this with you and help you set it up. Before I can get started, I'm just going to change the type of the file of my package.json here, and I'm going to set it to a module. Then in my video tutorial app, I'm going to add an .env file just so I can store my secret. So I'm going to export my secret, which is going to be key, and we're going to put it in between two brackets or two quotes here. I'm going to copy it from my notepad and paste it in here, and then this way it's just simple and I won't have to copy and paste this into all of my files. Now we will start off with getting all of the keys. Well, once again, we will want to confirm that we can still see what we did in our documentation. So once again, as we were following, we need to head everything that we have with our API key. So we're going to import our API key from our .env file. And we are then going to go down to where our authorization is, where our header is, and we are going to change this to a template literal for our key, and change these single quotes to backticks so that our application realizes that we are using a template literal. Furthermore, we need to do one final thing. At the very top here, you will notice that we are using fetch from node fetch. So we will need to install node fetch. Perfect. Once we've installed node fetch, let's see if we can run our application. So we're going to say node get keys.js, and oh, that's not what we were expecting. We should be able to see what our parameters are coming in from the documentation. So if we take a look at this prefix here, it says that it's string. So that's actually, the prefix is the key that we are looking at. So if we clear that out and we run node get keys.js, you'll see that the documentations that we created on our docs are actually showing up. We're going to go from looking for our keys to uploading new keys. Okay. And I'm going to start a new upload. And in order to do that, we're going to need our key from our env, right? And the way that you're going to tackle text is going to be a little bit different than the way that you tackle files. So when we scroll down, when we go down to this constant here, key, we're going to switch out your key parameter. And instead of docs, I'm going to call this app. All right. And we're going to scroll down to this object where our authorization is, replace the single quotes with backticks, and replace this with our key. So myfact.txt, hello world, we're going to say this was sent from the app. Okay. And now if we node upload text.js, we should see that it comes back with a successful response, right? That we get a full ID, myfile.txt with 11 tokens. We're going to list all of our keys. So we're going to say node get key.js and see where we're at. We have 1 under app and 3 under docs. Okay, so it recognized that the old doc was the one that was in existence, or the key was the one in existence, and it just added the new documentation from here, even though we have sent it from a different location. All right. Now we're going to go to uploading a file, and this one is going to be a little bit different. We're going to have to do a few things here to get this up and running. First, we're going to need to import our key once again, but before that, we also need to import one other thing. We're going to import fs, and this is going to come in from fs. Okay, so this is for us to be able to read files. So if you are reading files from your desktop, you will need fs. And in order to do that, we're going to say npm i fs and npm i form data. Form data. And we're going to need to install both of those packages, and we're going to do a couple of things. So under our form constant, we're going to create a new constant. We're going to call it file stream. Okay. And it's going to be fs.create read stream. And it's going to be, instead of myfile.txt, we're going to change this to our file path, which is resume.pdf. And now we're going to append the form similar to what we did earlier with our key. We need to change the string to our parameter, which is our file stream, right? Our chunk size is set to 1,000 with an overlap of 0. These were the defaults. And before we're able to send our responses or our requests, we will be changing this to our key and deleting our single quotes. Let's try node upload file. You'll see that the document was added to the vector store with the ID, the file name resume.pdf, and our tokens. And you will see that if you don't change your key parameter to here, we will want to add this under our app key. But this actually works perfectly because this then takes us into the next step, which is how we will be deleting a key. All right. And just to confirm, we can do our node getKeys.js, and we will see that you have a your key parameter, we have an app, and then we have a docs. 3 different sets of keys that now host different documentation. Let's go and delete our your key parameter document because we don't want that. We're going to once again import our key, and when we go down to our const key, we're not going to change this because this should have been changed in our previous line. But since it is the right key that we are going to be targeting, we're just going to go down to our API key, change that to key, and get rid of this extra quote. And we're going to node delete keys.js. Okay. And with a proper response, we will see message okay. One more time, if we get our keys, you will notice now that we no longer have our your key parameter, and the only 2 keys that we have are app and docs. Let's see how we can get lists of documents under a specific key. Okay, so over here, we're going to import our key once again, right? We always need that. And we're going to go down to our key parameter here, replace this with docs, or actually we're going to do app. We're going to see all of the documentation that we have uploaded from our application. Once again, we are going to change all of this so that it can read, and we will say node list all documents. We will see that we have 2 documents under our app key, which were the 2 unique myfile.txt and resume.pdf. If we want to take a look at what's inside of my resume.pdf, we can copy in our ID, and we will go to get an upload. We will import our key, and we will need our specific key. So we'll replace this with app, And down here, we will replace this with our unique ID. Once again, we will replace this, and we should be able to run this file, and we'll say node get upload.js with, once we have specified our key and once we have specified our ID, we should see a response that shows the entirety of my resume. And if we want to see this in a redacted format, what we will do is we'll go up here to the format, and if we type in redacted, and then we say node get upload.js, we rerun the application, you will see that everything that is redacted or should be redacted gets returned as redacted. So let's say you want to de-identify your text before you send it off to a specific function in your application. What we will need to first do is we will need to import our key. We'll need to input where our key is. It's going to say hello Bob. If we type in node de-identify.text, you will notice that it comes back with, look at that, hello, name given 1, processed, name given 1, Bob, and name given. All right, so it will disable all of the information that it can attach to the specific entity type value that you have assigned. Let's say you want to de-identify your file. Similar idea. However, I'm going to copy a very quick line of code from my notes and import it into here so that we can change the type of entity detection that we will be using. So we will import our FS since we are dealing with files and we are going to be dealing with forms. We will also import our key. When we go down here, we are going to say that we need first to also say const file stream is equal to fs.this create read my resume, and we will replace the string with file stream. Okay, we will replace this entity detection with entity detection, and then this entities here will be left as an empty array. Okay, we're not going to put anything in there. We're going to make sure that we have included our key in our requests, and once we run this file, the identify file, we will notice that it has actually de-identified all of the information based on the entities that we have passed through. One of the final things that I wanted to show you was we are going to get into our vector search. And in order for us to do our vector search, we will need to import again a key, just show us our searches based on the most relevant similarity search. You can change it from similarity search to other types of searches if you are so interested, but we will, let's say, look for our resume. Okay. And if we see here similarity search, format plain text, we will put our key, and we will look for our key in our app, not our docs, and switch out. And once we run our vector search file in our chunks, we get our resume first, and then it keeps on going. It's very hard to read, but if I pull it up this way, you will get the most relevant search. Now, if we go back to, instead of resume, we will say file, and we run a vector search. It will start with hello world. This was sent from the app because that was my file.txt. That was the most relevant search. It then starts your vector search with the most relevant of things that match within a specific key. We are going to take a look at OpenAI and how you would integrate your application with OpenAI. You're going to want to import a key again, and you are going to want to go through this. And in here, we are going to replace this with our key. So we're going to take a look at the model, which is going to be GPT4, and we're going to tell it that you are a happy and helpful assistant. The role is we are a user, and we're going to ask it to tell us a joke, and it's going to be in a redacted format. All right. So if we say node openai.js, perfect. We will see here that it comes back with an object with our ID. This is just for a de-identification of a message sent to OpenAI, so we're not going to be storing this under any keys. But if we want to see the contents of the object, right now it's telling us that in our choices, we are just seeing under the message that it is an object. We can console log that data by accessing it by going into data, into choices, 0, and then instead of text, it's going to be message, right? And we run that for that again, and we will see, perfect. The original data, the full object that we were expecting to see, but then in our message, we're going to say that it says it's the role of an assistant, and sure, here's a classic one. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Because they make up everything. Hey everyone, I wanted to pause the video here to discuss some key points. We've explored CAPE and its API endpoints in depth, but let's talk about how to make them more practical for your projects. Developers, for a hassle-free experience, simply call the completion endpoints. It handles privacy seamlessly and will automatically de-identify and re-identify your prompts. However, if you are a dev looking to control the endpoints a little more, what you could do is use the file upload endpoint to build a knowledge base. Then when the user submits a prompt using the de-identify, vector search, or completion endpoints, you perform your functions and then finally re-identify your prompt and return it back to the user. Hope that helps. So, I know we have gone through a lot. I hope this was very informative. I hope you could see how CAPE, privacy, and their API and their chat will help maintain your privacy and keep that at the forefront. If you have any questions, please make sure to go check out CAPE Privacy's Discord and go down to all of the relevant links in the description below. I will be leaving this application up on my GitHub. Thank you so much for joining me here today. My name is Jamil, and I hope to see you next video.